I'm excited to announce the newest addition to the SaltWrap lineup called Remodel Clinic. So Remodel Clinic is a joint health supplement in a subcategory of its own. The mechanism of action and the results you'll get from this are completely new to the joint health category. This is the first joint remodeling formula that leverages what's called senescent cell clearance to help with reduced stiffness, improve joint mobility, and overall joint resilience. So the way this works is it helps clear up and expedite the removal of cells lingering in your connective tissue called senescent cells. This is a very popular mechanism used in the cognitive health category. We've known about this for decades. The research on these ingredients is decades old, but newer research shows that the same mechanisms of action that help clean up some of that tissue and help with cognitive function and cognitive longevity, it has the same kind of benefits for your joints. And to me, maybe even more exciting because it's removing a very much root cause of stiffness and mobility restrictions, and that is senescent cells that accumulate and cause scar tissue. So to give you an idea of why this matters, why this new category matters, I want to talk about our other two joint health supplements and kind of the three legs of the stool of joint health supplementation for recovery. So our first joint health formula called Joint Clinic, this is the first multivitamin specifically for joint repair and recovery. So the focus of Joint Clinic is healing and recovery, or basically repair. If I'll stick with the R words just for a second. This Joint Clinic has all the micronutrition you need to recover from tissue injuries and daily tissue stress to help with repairing, inflammation support, and overall healing. So that is your repair leg of the stool. The next innovation we came out with was called collagen synthesis. Collagen synthesis helps with the rebuilding aspect of joint recovery. It actually provides the raw material your joints need to build new tendon, ligament, and cartilage structures. So far we have repair and rebuild. So the part we're missing is really the first part, which is the removal of dead tissue, damaged tissue, and basically non-biologically active tissue. And that's where the remodel phase comes in. So if you think about how this would work sequentially, or how you might supplement sequentially to basically pull every lever there is to help with joint recovery, you'd have the first phase, remodel. This is helping with connective tissue turnover, removal of those dead and damaged cells, and basically clearing out the old stuff to make way for the new. Next, you have the repair aspect, which is the micronutrition your body needs to help with healing, with inflammation, and overall antioxidant support. And then the third phase is rebuilding new structures stronger than they were before. So now we have a complete picture of how to pull every lever when it comes to joint health supplementation. Now you don't have to take these in sequence. This Remodel Clinic is something you can use as a daily part of your regimen. You can use it along with the collagen, along with the Joint Clinic. The only thing I would advise is not to take Remodel Clinic within 30 minutes to an hour of taking collagen synthesis. Why is that? So Remodel Clinic has an ingredient called bromelain, which is an enzyme found in pineapple. And one of its functions as a nutritional supplement is to break down proteins and break down different tissues and basically make them more readily available for removal. But what happens when you take bromelain along with collagen is it actually degrades the collagen peptides. So you don't want to take it with collagen. You can actually see this happening. If you were to mix bromelain with collagen in a glass with water and stir it up, you'd actually see some kind of clumping and dissolution happening, this kind of weird texture. So I've actually experimented with this. So this does kind of make your collagen inert in a way that's not easy to do. Even very high temperatures like piping hot coffee is not going to be enough to damage your collagen, but because of the way bromelain works, it will. So all you have to do is separate it by 30 minutes to an hour. Other than that, these products all work together very well. So real quick, I want to talk about why we formulated this, what kind of root cause analysis we did, and the fundamental problem it's solving. So as with most of our new products, even the content we create, it starts with hearing consistent feedback from clients and customers. And one of the very consistent complaints was limited mobility and joint restrictions and this feeling of just being kind of stiff and inhibited within joint structures. So this is something we heard several times. One of the phrases that popped out, I can remember 3 different occurrences where I heard this, was some form of, it feels like there's rust in my joints. So once we hear something 3 times, our ears perk up, we start diving in to understand, okay, what exactly are people experiencing here? Is there something we can do to help? So that's what led to this whole cascade of steps that eventually led to the development of Remodel Clinic. So the first step is identifying the issue: limited mobility restrictions within joints. So what is that? What's causing that? So we know there's things we can do regarding inflammation, regarding collagen synthesis that help, but still there's this category of mobility that we didn't feel like was being fully covered. So we dove in and, like usual, got to the bottom of it. And at the heart of most age-related or tissue damage-related restrictions is scar tissue and senescent cell accumulation. So senescent cells, also known as zombie cells, are cells that have stopped dividing. They're no longer biologically active, but they're still just kind of hanging out in your body. So why is this the problem? In joint tissue specifically, there's a couple reasons this is a problem. Number one is they're just taking up space. They're a physical structure. You can see them, and that causes problems when it comes to mobility and restrictions. They also displace healthy tissues. So instead of having a nice, healthy lattice work of connective tissue structures, you might have a bundle of these senescent cells that's just taking up space and causing problems, causing restrictions. The second thing is senescent cells do emit or basically support the process of producing pro-inflammatory cytokines. So when you have too much of this stuff lingering in your body, you're going to produce more inflammation. So when you remove these senescent cells, not only are you getting rid of the physical structure and the obstacle, you're also reducing the amount of inflammation causing engines that are in your body. So it's a twofold approach to helping with joint comfort and joint mobility. So that's why senescent cells matter, why they're relevant for the joint health category, and how you can imagine removing those would help with stiffness and mobility. So senescent cell accumulation is a natural part of aging. It's something that has been kind of accepted as just a thing, up until recently when researchers really started diving into how we can affect this in the cognitive health category to reduce some of the long-term effects of cognitive aging. But again, now we know the same thing happens with your joints. So we do have the ability to affect this. And back to the formulation process, once we identified that senescent cells were a problem and we dove in trying to figure out, is there something we can do to help with this? We looked at all the modalities. There's tissue work you can do, there's nutrition, there's movement, there's lifestyle, but there's a few ingredients specifically that showed a lot of promise for supporting your body's natural senescent cell removal processes. And that's why I love this approach. When I talk about a natural-based approach, this is what that means. You're supporting a function and a process already present in your body. So this process of senescent cell removal, it's already a process that runs in your body. What these ingredients do is support that process and bolster it so it expedites the removal of those senescent cells. You get less accumulation, especially with long-term use. And over time, you're gonna have better joint longevity, you're gonna have better mobility, and reduce feelings of stiffness and irritation within joints. So who is this for? It's for anyone who wants to have better mobility, reduce stiffness, and just better joint longevity. But we did formulate this with a few scenarios in mind. Number one is just your typical masters athlete, middle-aged athlete who feels a bit of joint restriction accumulating with age. This is a great daily supplement to help clean up some of those tissues and have kind of a daily cleanse of your connective tissue to keep healthy tissue turnover high and make way for new tissues to be added that are stronger, more pliable, and more resilient. Also, this is very effective and very useful in post-injury or post-surgery scenarios where your body could be potentially accumulating more scar tissue than is productive. So a good rule of thumb is anytime you are restricted, let's say you are immobilized by a brace or a cast after a surgery or after an injury, during that time period, there's likely going to be some counterproductive scar tissue accumulation. Now, not all scar tissue accumulation is bad. You want some of that in the right structures to help with keeping your connective tissue solid, keeping your joints solid, but especially in our kind of ball and socket joint scenarios, your shoulders, your hips, there's a lot of scar tissue accumulation that happens that's counterproductive. If you think about how these ball and socket joints work, you need that space between the ball and the socket to be clear so that the ball can rotate freely. So what happens, for example, in hip surgery recovery, you get some of the tissue healing you want in the ligaments and the cartilage surrounding the hip, but you also get this scar tissue accumulation in that space, and that restricts movement. So this is a great scenario to use Remodel Clinic and these senolytic ingredients to help reduce that scar tissue formation. So again, it's great for post-injury, post-surgery outcomes, but also if you can imagine how this might work as a daily recovery item for your hips, for your shoulders, and even your more simple big dumb joints like your knees and elbows, you can see that this is going to help clear up that tissue and make way for new tissue to form. So in terms of how to use this, 2 capsules daily is your best bet. You can use this kind of like a cleanse. A person could use this once a month, once every few months, and take a bottle, let's say take a 30-day supply every 60 to 90 days, and it'll work like a cleanse for your connective tissue. But it's also designed to be taken daily, and that's when you're going to get the best results, both short-term and long-term. If you think about how senescent cells accumulate over time, it makes sense to have daily prophylactic or preventative measures in place to stop that accumulation from getting to the point where it becomes an issue within your joints. So a couple of different ways to use it, but the simplest, most effective way is going to be 2 capsules daily. And lastly, I'm going to spend just a couple minutes going through the ingredient profiles, because some of these ingredients might be new to you. Maybe you've seen them in other types of supplements, but you haven't seen them in a joint health supplement. So I'll explain why those are in there and exactly how they work. So the first one is called fisetin. So fisetin is a flavonol found in strawberries and other fruits. Now this ingredient supports tissue repair and actually has demonstrated research for reducing scar tissue formation. So in terms of your biggest bang for your buck, fisetin is where it's at. This is the ingredient that's going to do most of the heavy lifting for removal and prevention of senescent cell and scar tissue formation and accumulation. Then you'll see quercetin. It's also on the supplement ingredients in a pretty high dosage. As far as total volume, quercetin is the largest ingredient in the formula at 500 milligrams. So you may have heard of quercetin 10, 15 years ago when it became famous because Lance Armstrong was promoting it for endurance. So there is a sports nutrition kind of performance ingredient aspect to this. So you may feel a little bit bump. It's not a stimulant, but you may feel a little more endurance when you're exercising, but we don't want to distract too much from that. There's so many benefits to these ingredients. We could talk about cognitive support, but what we want to focus on is the tissue cleanup and repair processes. And we know that quercetin helps with senescent cell removal and also just has a ton of antioxidant support that's going to help with reducing oxidative stress and just supporting that natural cell cleaning process. And as we already discussed, it contains bromelain, which is the enzyme from pineapple, which helps with tissue breakdown, tissue removal, and just kind of keeping that healthy tissue level high within your joints. So Synactive is interesting because it's very popular in sports nutrition pre-workout energy drinks because it does help with muscle cell regeneration and removal of dead cells within muscles, but it also does the same thing within joints. So it's right there in the name, Synactive. It's a proven senolytic ingredient that helps support that senescent cell removal process. And then finally, rounding out the formula, we have 90 milligrams of vitamin C from a patented version called Pure Whey C. Now we know that vitamin C helps support collagen synthesis. It works synergistically with collagen to help with tissue rebuilding, but it's also super important and crucial to the tissue cleanup process. So when you put all these together, you have a very potent mix of ingredients proven to help remove senescent cells, prevent senescent cell accumulation, and then the outcome of that is reduced joint stiffness, improved joint mobility, and overall improved joint resilience. So if you feel like restricted movement, limitations to your mobility have impacted your fitness or just day-to-day function in life, or maybe you don't feel like your joints are as pain-free as they could be, this could be one of the main issues that's holding you back. Senescent cell accumulation is not something people talk about a lot, but we know it's at the very root of joint restrictions, limited mobility, and even producing some of those pain-causing inflammatory cytokines. So if you haven't heard of the tissue remodel category before, that's because it doesn't exist until now. But this is backed by science. These ingredients have been around for decades, and now we know through new research that these same ingredients proven to help support cognitive processes and cognitive longevity are also going to help with connective tissue repair, connective tissue mobility, and connective tissue longevity. And as always, our 90-day money back guarantee still stands. We call it our love it or free guarantee, because if this is your first bottle and you don't love the results, you're not blown away by the results, in fact, we will give you a full refund, no hassles, won't even make you return the bottle on your first bottle. So check it out, Remodel Clinic. This is one that's going to help with connective tissue repair, unlike anything you've experienced before.